Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, classmate. This is our topic for this afternoon, Chapter 16, Accounting for Income Tax. Reporters, Hanan Mortaba, BSAIS2, Jean Inocencio, BSAIS2, John Mark Gaso, BSAIS3. Technical knowledge, to know the distinction between accounting income and taxable income, to distinguish permanent differences and temporary differences between accounting income and taxable income. To know the recognition and measurement of deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability. To know the recognition and measurement of current tax asset and current tax liability. To distinguish inter-period tax allocation and intra-period tax allocation. So first is alamin muna natin kung ano yung pinagkaiba ni accounting income kay taxable income. Accounting income on the income statement, income appearing on the income statement, computed in accordance with General Accepted Accounting Principles or GAAP, and accrual basis. Taxable income, income appearing on the income tax return or ITR. It is computed in accordance with tax laws and cash basis. So, pag sinabi nating accounting income, mas explainable siya sa part ni accounting, and yung taxable income naman, mas explainable din siya sa part ni taxation courses. Next is yung alamin naman natin is yung since nalaman na natin kung ano yung difference ni accounting income kay taxable income. So ngayon is aalamin natin yung kung ano yung mga differences na nag-arise between sa dalawa. So here is the two type of differences. Permanent differences and temporary differences. Pag sinabi nating permanent differences, example, may sinali kang items sa accounting pero pagdating kay BIR is ayaw niya itong i-recognize or ipinagbabawal niya talaga ito. Then, yung temporary differences naman, pagdating ay add ko lang pala sa permanent differences is walang tax consequences. Then, si temporary differences naman, yung temporary differences is timing difference. Then, yung temporary differences, example, na-recognize na siya ngayon sa accounting pero sabi ni BIR, hindi ko pa siya pwede i-recognize. Ngayon, in the future ko pa siya ma-recognize. Yung temporary differences kasi is my is my tax consequences. Permanent differences, mayroong may dalawang may dalawang component, no? Non-taxable revenues and non-deductible expenses. Pagdating kay temporary differences, may dalawa rin, taxable temporary differences and deductible temporary differences. Pag sinabi nating non-taxable revenues, ito yung mga revenues na isinali natin under accounting pero sabi ni pagdating kay tax is ayaw niya itong i-recognize or ipinagbabawal niya talaga ito. Then, yung mga non-deductible expenses naman, ito yung mga expenses na ibinawas natin under accounting pero pagdating kay tax is ayaw niya itong ipabawas. So, ina-add back natin yung mga deductible expense pagdating kay tax. Kasi nga, ayaw niyang tanggalin or ayaw niyang i-recognize. At yung non-taxable revenues, tandaan natin na binabawas si non-taxable revenues at si non-deductible expenses naman is ina-add back. Punta tayo kay temporary differences. Temporary differences creates future taxable amounts and deductible temporary differences creates future deductible amounts. Future taxable amounts, dito ay kailangan muna nating tanggalin yung mga items na isinalin natin under accounting dahil sabi ni BIR, in the future ko pa yan i-recognize. So, tatanggalin natin yun kasi yun yung gusto ni BIR. Then, future deductible amounts, ito yung mga items na ibinawas mo ngayon pero sabi ni BIR, in the future ko pa yan tatanggalin. So, kailangan nating i-add back dahil in the future pa siya ibabawas. So, tatandaan natin na yung future taxable amounts is ibinabawas kasi nga sabi ni BIR, in the future pa yan i-recognize o ma-recognize. So, tanggalin natin yung mga isinali nating item kasi bawal pa tanggalin. Bawal pa tanggalin, so ibabawas natin. Then, yung future deductible amounts is ibabalik natin yung mga item na itinanggal natin kasi nga in the future pa siya dapat tanggalin. So, add natin. Pag future taxable amounts, bawas. Future deductible amounts, add back kasi ito yung gusto ni tax. Future taxable amounts result to deferred tax as liability, and future deductible amounts result to deferred tax assets. Okay. Pag sinabi pala nating deferred tax liability and deferred tax asset, ano yung pumapasok sa isip ninyo? So, pag sinabi nating deferred tax liability and deferred tax asset, ito yung made-delay lamang or in the future pa siya marirecognize. Next, punta tayo sa permanent differences. Sabi ko kanina, may dalawa. Sa permanent differences, under sa permanent differences, mayroong dalawa. So, yun yung non-taxable revenues and non-deductible expenses. Non-taxable revenues, example, interest income on deposit and dividend received. Non-taxable revenues, ito yung mga income na bawal talaga or subject na sa final taxes. Sa interest income on deposit, bakit siya non-taxable revenues? Kasi under sa tax laws, nakasubject na siya sa final tax rate. And sa dividend received naman is subject na din sa final taxes. Next is yung non-deductible expense naman. Example, life insurance premium. Pero take note na si life insurance premium magiging non-deductible expenses lang siya kapag si company yung beneficiary. At kapag hindi si company yung beneficiary, magiging deductible expenses siya. Next is yung tax penalties, surcharges, and fines. So, nagiging non-deductible expenses kasi nga, bakit pa tayo bibigyan ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng deduction ni BIR kasi mayroon na tayong kasalanan sa kanya. Next, punta tayo kay temporary differences. Deferred tax liability arises from the following, and deferred tax asset arises from the following. So, mayroong tatlo. Accounting income, greater than taxable income, carrying value of the asset greater than asset tax base, carrying value of the liability less than liability tax. And pagdating kay deferred tax asset is babalik na rin lang natin yung tatlo. Example sa accounting income greater than taxable income. Yung tax base, sana ba ako? May natanggap kang, example na to may natanggap kang revenues under accrual basis pero sabi ni tax, i-recognize ko lang siyan na revenues if natanggap mo na ang cash which is in the future pa. Therefore, kailangan mong tanggalin kay accounting income yung income under accrual basis by deducting it. So, ibabawas natin yung income na under accrual basis kasi nga in the future pa natin siya matatanggap. Kasi nga hindi pa natin na-receive yung cash. So, sundin natin yung gusto ni BIR. Then, pero pag na-receive natin, okay. Next, carrying value of the asset less greater than asset tax base. Tax base is yan yung amount na attributable for tax purposes and yung carrying value naman is under accounting. Example, may equipment. May carrying value yung equipment mo na let's say 100,000 under accounting. Then sabi ni tax, bakit 100,000 yan? Gawin mo yung 70,000. Then, wala tayong magagawa kundi bawasan ng 30,000 yung ating carrying value under accounting kasi in the future pa siya magiging taxable. So, sundin natin yung utos ni tax kasi si tax yung masusunod. Next, carrying value of the liability less than liability tax. Example, wala kang na-recognize na liability sa book mo pero sabi ni tax may utang ka na talaga. So, kailangan mong mag-deduct ulit kasi taxable na siya in the future. Susundin natin yung gusto ni tax kasi sunod-sunuran tayo dito kay tax. Next, deferred tax asset. Accounting income less than taxable income. Example, pag malaki yung taxable income, ibig sabihin kailangan mong i-adjust yung accounting income mo by increasing it because deductible pa siya in the future. Kaya may deferred tax asset kasi benefits mo pa siya in the future. So, tanggalin muna kung malaki yung ating taxable income. So, babawasan natin. Kailangan nating sundin kung ano lang yung gusto ni tax. Next, carrying value of the asset less than asset tax base. So, pag malaki yung asset tax base, for example, equipment, may carrying value na 70,000 under accounting. Pero sabi ni tax, bakit 70,000 lang yung carrying value mo? Gawin mo yang 100,000. So, susundin pa rin natin si tax kasi nga si tax yung masusunod. Kaya yung 30,000 na kulang mo sa carrying value, i-add mo yon kasi in the future ay magre-reverse siya. Magre-reverse ito. So, sundin natin yung gusto ni tax. Dagdagan natin yung ating carrying value. Gawin natin, magkano yon? 100,000. So, next, carrying value of the liability less than liability tax. Example, nag-recognize ka ng expense under accrual basis pero sabi ni tax magiging deductible lang yan kapag nagbayad ka actual. Kaya ina-add back natin yung expense na hindi pa bayad dahil deductible pa siya in the future. So, sundin pa rin si tax. Kasi in the future pa siya magiging deductible. Daw si si tax ba? Daw si itong nabalaan ko lang ba? Next, punta tayo sa recognition principles. Deferred tax liability. Deferred tax liability shall be recognized for all taxable temporary differences. Pero take note na mayroon ding exemption. However, deferred tax liability is not recognized when the taxable temporary differences arises from the following. So, ano yun? First is goodwill. So, sa goodwill, Bakit hindi nare-recognize yung deferred tax liability? Kasi permanent differences in goodwill. Then asset or liability that does not affect accounting taxable income and attributed profits of subsidiary, associate, or joint venture. So, yan yung mga exempted sa deferred tax liability or hindi dyan marirecognize si deferred tax liability. Next, deferred tax asset. Deferred tax asset shall be recognized for all deductible temporary differences and operating loss carry forward when it is probable that taxable income will be available against which the deferred tax asset can be used. So, deductible temporary differences, explain ko lang yan kanina. Then, yung operating loss carry forward, ito na lang yung ating aalamin kung ano ba si operating loss carry forward. Operating loss carry forward, yan yung excess ng tax deduction over taxable income. Dito, nagiging malaki yung expense mo kaysa sa income under tax. Kaya sa paningin ng tax, meron kang loss. Pag loss, hindi yan tinataksan for current period at yung loss na yan ay tinatawag na loss operating carry forward. So mamaya magbibigay ako ng example dito sa operating loss carry forward para mas lalong mauunawaan. So yung operating loss carry forward, isa yan sa aking mga problem mamaya na susolusyonan natin. Next, measurement of taxes. Current taxes measured using tax rate that has been enacted and effective at the reporting period. Deferred taxes measured using the tax rate that has been enacted by the end of reporting period and expected to apply to the period when the asset is realized or liability is settled. Ano ba ito? So wait, magbibigay tayo ng examples. Examples, 30% tax rate applicable to year 2020 and 25% tax rate has been effective starting taxable year 2021. So yung tanong, what tax rate shall be used to measure current and deferred taxes or on December 31, 2020? So yung sagot, yung 30% is para sa ating current taxes. So yung for the current year lang. So yung deferred taxes, so pag sinabing deferred, in the future pa siya, di ba? So yung gagamitin natin is yung 25%. Gets po ba? Pag current, 30%. Pag yung deferred taxes, so yung 25% kasi future pa yan. Yung susunod na taon. Or for example, another yung halimbawa January 1 ngayon. So yung 30% yung ginamit natin at the end of the period. So pwede na natin gamitin si 25%. Next, presentation of current taxes and deferred taxes. Current taxes. Wait lang. Current taxes presented under current tax liability. Current liability. So, pag may utang ka pa kay BIR, current liability ang tawag doon. So, take note, pag may utang ka kay BIR, current liability. Kasi mababayaran na yan within 12 months or after December 31 on the month of April. So, siguro April tayo nagbabayad ng ating tax. So, current tax asset presented under current asset. I mean current taxes. So, current tax liability, current tax asset naman. Next, current tax asset. Nagkakaroon ng current tax asset pag mas malaki yung binayaran mo kay BIR kaysa sa talagang utang mo. So, kung dako daw itong gibaydan mo kay BIR, so may current tax asset na mag-a-arise. Next, punta tayo kay deferred taxes. Deferred tax liability presented under non-current liability and deferred tax asset presented under non-current asset. So yung ano na lang follow up, yung tanong ko, yung non-current liability and non-current asset pagdating kay BIR is magiging current liability and asset ba siya? So yung sagot is hindi. Kasi pagdating kay BIR, after the current year po tayo nagbabayad or after 12 months. So kaya hindi marirecognize or hindi siya marirecognize as current liability and current asset kasi more than 12 months tayong nagbabayad. Pagdating kay BIR, so kung more than 12 months, so non-current na yan kasi nasa long term po tayo. Yung current kasi and current liability and current asset kasi is dapat short term lang yung or within 12 months lang dapat. Next, offset of deferred taxes. An entity shall offset a deferred tax asset against deferred tax liability when. Pero take note guys na yung offset of deferred taxes is ang general rule nito is hindi talaga siya nag-o-offset. So pero may exemption pa rin. Number 1, the deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability relate to income taxes levied by the same tax authority. So yun. The entity has a legal right to set off a current tax asset against a current tax liability. So, yan yung mga exemption ni offset of deferred taxes. Next na ba tayo? So, wait lang.